Thank you guys very much for coming. I'm Mike Michel with Superior Ag. Today with us is Joe Rickard. Joe's with WinField United. He drove almost 7 hours to get here, so he's definitely the expert. That's confirmed. This stop we call the biological stop. The basis of it is basically fighting science, or using science to fight stress mitigation, use things to take your operation to the next step with your current management practices. And Joe's going to kind of kick it off on the whole what are biologicals and what are they doing.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you guys here. I don't know if the expert, but I am 50 miles away from home, and I did stay in a Holiday Inn Express last night, so maybe that makes me the expert at the end of the day. But thanks, appreciate it. So thank you guys for taking the time out of your day to come here. Listen, this is about my 4th or 5th time that Superior's come and asked me to speak at this event. Very privileged to get to speak in front of you guys here today. So as we think about things and this stop, you've taken time out of your day today, what do you guys want to end up and talk about? What are questions on biologicals that you guys have on your mind, in your mind? This is the participation rate, so.
Do they work?
Do they work? So questions, do they work? All right. What else do you guys have?
When to apply.
When to apply. So timings, right? That okay? Timings? What else, guys? What else is on your mind?
Return on investment.
Return on investment, always, right? ROI. Know what we've got.
Tank mix.
Tank mixing, great. What else we have? Cost. Michel, that's yours right there. You get to take that one. What else, guys? What else is on your mind? Things that you're thinking about on the biological market.
What can it be mixed with? Can you buy it at the same time?
Tank mixing, application time frame. Okay. Anything else? Well, we thought we were in between you and lunch, but I guess we're going to have to skip lunch and get the rest of these here taken care of. So, no, I'm joking with you guys. We're in between you and lunch, and that ain't ever a good place to be here at the end of the day on things. So, we're going to kind of go through some things that we've put together at WinField United to help kind of decipher some of the ambiguity within this biological market here itself. And these are some of the things really you guys as growers, if you got somebody from Superior that you're working with, or maybe somebody that's just trying to sell a biological at the end of the day, driving down your farm lane, some of the questions that you want to think and ask about here first. And 6 questions we kind of put together. Really the first one as you go through is, what agronomic issue are you guys trying to solve? What agronomic issue are you trying to solve on the farm? And a couple of the bullet points on the right-hand side are some answers. Maybe it's something with stand. Your stand establishment, whether it be corn, soybeans, wheat, trying to get a better stand on what you're looking at. Maybe it's something with heat or drought stress, some other stressor or abiotic stress that you're trying to deal with on the farm there. Maybe it's this time right now is, hey, we've done everything right, and I want to take that next step to get our grain fill. How do we better fill the ears, the pods that we're looking at? And we're going to have a little bit of a conversation as we go forward. But these are just some of the ideas that you think about. What is the stress? What is the agronomic issue you're trying to solve for as you go forward on your operation itself? As you take a look at question number 2, what's the category? As you take a look at this biological market that the industry ends up and quotes it as, biologicals is just the general segment. But how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? So how can we end up and break this biological market down for you guys at the end of the day? We've categorized them in kind of some of the areas that you take a look. So if you pull your storyboard off, you look at 3 different rows of boxes that we've got here. This area right here is going to be what we call the biologicals. That's going to be living organisms. Biologicals are living organisms. Bugs in a jug, maybe you've heard that term before there itself. Those are going to be the biologicals. As soon as you rip that open, crack that jug, the clock starts ticking. When do we get that applied? How fast can we get that out there at the end of the day? Because we do have a time limit, being that a living organism. We take a look at the middle row here itself. These are going to be biostimulants. So plant extracts, maybe living at one time, but now they're dead. All right, non-living organisms is what we're looking at. Plant extracts, animal extracts, could be enzymes at the end of the day. Non-living, a little bit more forgiving on time frame than what we have with the biologicals itself. Third product area that Mike and I will hit on here too on some products here itself is the PGRs, plant growth regulators. Some of these products, all of them here that we have listed up here, are naturally occurring plant growth regulators that we've synthesized or synthetically made here into these products itself. So as we go forward, we ID the problem or the issue that we're having on the farm. Now we know what category we're going to end up and use, whether it be a biological, biostimulant, PGR. One thing that we really end up and have to watch, if you're looking or other people are calling on you, if you compare a biological and a biostimulant, or a PGR and a biostimulant, we got apples and oranges comparisons that we're looking at. We need to end up and look at those modes of action, which really leads us into our third bullet point. This is really where we separate the wheat from the chaff at the end of the day. Does it have a mode of action? And now you guys might be scratching your head, well, what the hell are you talking about, Joe? Is this one of the things that we're ending up talking about, herbicides? No, does it have a mode of action? Meaning, can I tell you how, and can I tell you where that product works at in the plant? So as we think about things and these products up here, Mike, I'm going to put you on the spot here, man, and we're going to pick on our product here, Ascend Squared. Can you tell me how and where that product works at in the plant?
So Ascend Squared, you guys have heard about Ascend for several years. Ascend is composed of 3 natural occurring plant PGRs. Ascend Squared is a new formulation. It's an auxin dominant PGR. So the auxin, what we're focusing on here is root mass, root development. So how can we take your stand of corn and maximize? So with the focus here with an infertile application of this is to increase root mass. This is a local trial that's done here at Superior Ag. As we've watched this throughout the year, we feel like we're doing that exact thing. We've made a bigger root mass. We've made more fibrous roots. We are changing that root structure with this natural PGR. And everybody says, well, you're changing it doesn't mean anything. Well, just early evaluation, yes, we've added more kernels. So there's opportunity there for more yield. There's opportunity for return on investment. Now we have to take it to harvest and find out what that becomes. But that's where we kind of know what we're focusing on, and we feel like the product's doing exactly that. So, more to come with that. But that's a focus point of a natural plant growth regulator.
Some of the questions that we get sometimes, Mike, is, well, there's really 5 growth regulators. Why don't you use all 5? The ones that we don't use are abscisic acid and ethylene. Those are related to death. Those are the death hormones. So if you guys have ever put a green banana, or your wife has ever put a green tomato in a brown paper bag and set it up on the shelf there, and 2 days later you come back and it's ripe, that's the ethylene gas that's being emitted, those ripening or finishing processes as we go forward. We've done through question 3, but now we get to the 4th question, is what's the placement and the geography that we look at? So think about Eastern Corn Belt that we are in versus the Western Corn Belt. Can you guys think of some differences that are different between the East and West? Mississippi River, yeah, that's the divide, right? That's the divide. When you think about the Western Corn Belt, more hot, more arid, right? Less relative humidity, right? You're chewing the air today, right? We got 90-degree temperatures, 90-plus degree humidity, right? And when we take a look at this, you may have 90-degree temperatures, but not the humidity that we have. Think about diseases itself between the difference of the geography. When you get to the Eastern Corn Belt here, it's not if we're going to see disease, but when are we going to see disease, right? You drove to the plot day here today. How many of you guys drove through fog when you came in? A lot of free moisture in this crop. You guys fight issues with southern rust in this area? Pretty heavy, right? How about tar spot? Another problematic disease that we take a look at. I make that comparison because we look at the differences in those environments, and you think about also the other bullet point that I've got there, N rates. Do you guys use the same N rate across the whole farm on all your fields that you have? No, right? We have some more higher producing fields that you guys end up and farm in your operation versus maybe some lower producing ground that you look at. How and where do those products fit in there from a meta-analysis as you go through those? Think about the limitations. And this is all different on your operation itself when you think about plant physiology and those timings that we'll go through and look at these products. Think about environmental aspects, but really from the operational aspect on your farm. You look at plant, pre-plant, early post, late post, and what I've termed as a VT plus. And you think about that tar spot, southern rust component there. If we get a heavy infestation late after R2, R3, are those diseases going to maybe require us to spray again? Should we get a severe infestation? Probably, right? So you guys shaking your head to save the crop because those diseases are so prolific as we go forward. Are there options that we can end up and look at those applications to go forward? So those are the limitations as you take a look at. And finally, when you think about things itself, does it have data to support? We've got reels and reels of data that may not be yield data, but other physiological data pieces that we have from our innovation center up in River Falls that can help solidify that. But you take a look at some guy that's driving up your driveway wanting to sell you a biological or a biostimulant. No data. Just use it. It works. That create a lot of self-awareness there at the end of the day, right? Probably not. And there's where the chuckles start to come in at the end of the day. So when we think about one thing that we usually good or look at, somebody asks, do they work? Do they work? Really what we've done at WinField United is created what we call the bio-verified process. How many of you guys have utilized consumer reports before to buy something? What have you used it to buy? Vehicles, okay? How many passengers will it hold? What's the payload if it's on a truck? Pick your poison on what you're looking at there at the end of the day. This is kind of our version of consumer reports that we look at. And we look at 4 different criteria that we rate the biologicals that come through us to you guys from Superior at the end of the day. Not all our products, but ones that we're distributing also at the end of the day too. You think about uniqueness. How unique is that product? Are there patents on that product? Are there 10 different products that end up and look like it with the same ratio of certain products that are in there, certain actives? It's going to get a higher rating if it ends up and has some patent protection, some uniqueness behind it. Take a look at the agronomics. Really, can I tell you where that mode of action is? How that product works within the plant? Those are the agronomics. Does the data that we have that we can end up and evaluate, does it live up to those claims as we go forward? You take a look at the third aspect on there, the third criteria component, operational aspects. Having you guys as the growers in mind, what's the ease of use? Does this come in a co-pack, 2 different bottles, or does it come all in one jug? Those are some ratings that we end up and get. Other pieces that we think about from time frames here itself, thinking about shelf life. Mike, how apt are you to sell a product that maybe only has a 1-year shelf life on it to your growers?
Doesn't work out very well when you got to throw it all away the second year.
Right. Well, how about something that maybe has a 4 or 5-year shelf life when you end up and look at it? From an operational aspect with you guys has a higher rating as we go forward. And then finally from the economic aspect, so we mentioned ROI. Evaluating that from the standpoint with you guys in mind. You guys in the chairs in mind first and foremost. It's a win-win-win situation. Is it a win-win-win situation? Meaning, is it right for you guys at the growers? If it is it right for Superior Ag at the end of the day? And if we can win with those two, it's going to be right for WinField United at the end of the day as we go forward. rating those components as we look at kind of rates with the bio-verified process that we've kind of put together. And some of those products that are on there, and again, this is not a all-encompassing list of biological products that we offer. It's the ones that we believe in. Hey, Joe, I'm looking for a place to start. Maybe it's on a seed treatment. Where can I go? Where would you point me in? This is where I'm going to start from a transparency aspect as we look at things, okay? All of these are not our products, okay? Some are PGRs, some are biologicals, some are biostimulants on here. So it's a plethora, a range of what we're looking at as we go forward. This list gets updated on an annual basis. So we would see some that were on there, maybe come off because we have a better product that's ending up and look at it. Maybe some will get added as we go forward. But I would not see this list being huge 40, 50 numbers long on products. It's going to be concise for you guys to transpose what you're looking at, what you want to do as you go forward. Mike, anything you'd add on this one here itself?
I think just with the operational stuff you mentioned earlier with the list of products on here, there's a lot of different ways for this to catch a ride onto the crop, whether it's in a seed treatment, whether it's in a planter box, whether it's in an in-furrow 2x2, maybe it's with your side dress, maybe it's with your fungicide application. There's a lot of ways to get these in and test them.
I think that's a great segue as we go forward. One key point that I want to make with the biologicals is these are not silver bullet products, okay? These are not silver bullet products. They are not Band-Aids to average or below average management, okay? That we're on camera, so we're going to keep it clean here for right now, all right? They are not Band-Aids for below average management at the end of the day. We have to have our foundation at NPK in line as we go forward. But when you think about, we just mentioned, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? When did you guys start planting here? April, May, June? Maybe all the above, right? Yeah. This year? From May time frame, it's August 14th now. Has everything gone according to plan on what you guys wanted to go for the growing season? No, right? And that's like that every year. But it ends up, how can we end up and eat that elephant one bite at a time to manage this crop and manage everything as we go forward? So we kind of broke it up into kind of three different areas: a start, a grow, and a finish time frame. If you think about start time frame, when you guys have got those planters out in the field, Mike talked about our Ascend Squared product here that's behind me. All you guys in here have in-furrow systems on your planter? Probably not, right? Not everybody does. So when we take a look at, the Ultra Key Zinc product that we want to have paired with the Ascend Squared, what the heck can I do now for you guys that end up and don't have in-furrow opportunities? This is where we're going to switch gears a little bit and look at the Dash PBC product. What we've been seeing with that product is a more robust root system with those 8 biologicals that are in there in the absence of starter fertilizer. Okay? So for those of you guys that don't have starter on the planter, this could be an option to look at that planting time frame to utilize that biological there in the system. Take a look at the grow phase. So that kind of V5 to V8, V10, V12 time frame on what we're looking at there. Starting with the nutritional aspect, some of you guys may be using an early season fungicide also in there. Are there other biologicals that we can add to that system and end up and get that stair step up as we go forward? Okay? Finally here at this finish time frame, how many of you guys are spraying fungicide right now? $1 million plus market, we got 3 guys spraying fungicide. Yeah, right, okay, I get it. But yeah, we got guys that are spraying fungicide itself. When you think about why we're doing that, the components of yield itself, what are the 3 pieces that we have to have? If you guys are out there doing yield checks now with Mike or other guys at Superior, you're pulling those ears. What are the 3 components that you have to have? You have to know them. If you want to estimate that yield, what do you have to have? So population, but harvestable ears per acre, right? That's what we have to know. Harvestable ears per acre. That's the first one. What's the second point? Rows around and long, kernel length. So a number of kernels per ear, right? So around and length. Now what's the third piece that we have to know in order to calculate that yield or estimate? Somebody said kernel densities, right, that we look at here. Kernel weight is the third component that you look at there. Kernel weight. And what do you guys use for that number? 90, 80, 90,000 roughly, maybe in some aspects there.
60 this morning. We're going to go look him up later.
Yeah,
today.
I think a bowling ball hanging on an ear here on what we're looking at on some of these. But a good estimate on what guys are using 80, 90,000 in that kernel assessment there. When you look at kernel weight is not test weight. Okay, two different aspects. Test weight is on a volumetric scale. Kernel weight is on a density scale. So how dense is that kernel as we go forward? This is where we can still have an impact for yield right now. You guys are spraying fungicide, are going to spray a fungicide application. I'm not asking you to make another application. I'm just asking you to maybe to tank mix something with it. That's really where the timing or tank mixing comes into play. We try to do a lot of common tank mixes that what we have. Now, are we going to have every possible tank mix that goes out there? Probably not. But those are where we can have the one-off conversations with Mike and the other sellers that you guys are working with. Is if you've got some of that product that you're utilizing from Superior, we can end up and do that jar test quick to end up and go forward. But if we look at a product here that you guys are already using fungicide, pick your flavor of the day on what you want to use for fungicide. Maybe it's yield on. Maybe it's a true row attack as you have those. So different categories, but understanding where that third question was here, that mode of action, what we're doing with those products. We're packing that kernel, that pod, bean, full of sugars and starches to end up and influence that kernel weight at the end of the day. So if you can take that number from 90 or 80,000 down to 75 or 70,000, you've just increased your yield by not adding more plants, adding anything else in there, but to adding to that kernel weight at the end of the day when you take a look at it. Again, a systems approach, not a silver bullet, not a one-way what we're looking at. So we have that built for corn. We have the same similar concept built for soybeans also. Same different way to walk through what you're looking at. And again, this is not an all-encompassing list because during that growth stage, you guys might be making a herbicide application also. And we can end up in tank mix there with those. Questions, comments here at the end of the day? Mike, as we look here, kind of, did we miss something on how they work? Timings, ROI, tank mixing? You might want to hit on your cost again and reiterate on what we've got, kind of a wrap up there.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. So just, he mentioned cost. That's where everything has a cost to it. A lot of this stuff is, price based off of return on investment and what it brings, and that's why the testing continues to go, so they know what the value is of these products and how much they can make you on the farm. They always say everything only costs a bushel or two. Well, that matters today more than it did 2 months ago. But anyway, ST3 on soybeans outside, highly encourage you to look at those. That's another Ascend that goes with the seed treatment on soybeans, and we've seen a lot of positive things out of that. Just, multiple plots walking, seeing faster emerging soybeans, more uniformity, and a larger root mass. And then when you look at those beans, we think we see a lot more pods on those treated plants, and that's the ultimate goal. Just real quick recap, a lot of options. There's a whole lot more of this. Biologicals, if we can kind of define them, figure out where to use them, use proper placement. The big key takeaway for us today is, this is not a silver bullet like Joe said earlier. This just adds to your management practices and helps accelerate what you guys are already doing, and all the weather is unpredictable. So if we can head off stress or, use this stuff to block that thing that is taking yield away from you, that's the goal at the end of the day. And thank you guys very much for joining us today. I think Jerry's ready to lead us in prayer.